Hello folks, I guess this is going to be part 2 of the 55 Bel Air 4-door to 2-door conversion. As you can see, I've done a little bit of stuff and mocked some things up to look at it. I got the doors on, I've got the aftermarket quarter panel piece grafted in and just tacked into place. And then I've got this lower quarter panel piece here going on. Lots of good feedback. I appreciate that. A little bit of negative, but that's to be expected. I'm not doing this to please anyone other than myself. I'm looking forward to it. I got a sort of an idea of how I want the car to be, and I think it's going to be good. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, and maybe not everybody saw it, but you know, I do have a day job, and I do work on customer cars, so they kind of come first, and then I have you know, a day every now and then to work on my stuff. Fortunately, the only good thing of the current situation is that I've had more time to spend in the shop because everyone's social events and car shows and stuff are on hold. So I'm back at the 55. I'm going to figure out what's going on here. So the bottom of the rocker, have a look. The bottom of the rocker here, it had that square sort of cover on it that looked like a 56 or 7 rocker, but it was just a scabbed on cover that went over top. So I cut that off. There's not a lot of structure in here right now, so I want to restructure this side and try and get it sort of fitting properly. These are just cleat coated in place. The door opens and closes, but as you can see, there's not a lot here to work with. So I did manufacture, or make, or fabricate, or whatever you want to call it. I made my own rocker piece to go there. And I stopped it at this lip. I made a lip that goes up, and that's going to be sort of what ties this together. And then I was talking to John at Bay Ridge's Classic Chevy, not far from me. He sells all Tri-5 Chevy stuff here in Ontario, and he said a one-piece floor. He's telling me the prices, and it's really good. So I'll probably go with a one-piece floor. I was going to fabricate the floor entirely myself, but I think, back again here, I think I'll probably end up doing it with a one-piece floor that comes with all the braces and the inner rockers and everything. It's really affordable for what it is. It doesn't really make any sense, and I don't have the hindrances with the shipping that we normally have here in Canada, trying to get parts from the States because they stock them. So I'm trying to get another panel like this for the other side. It's a little difficult to get right now in the current situation. So I'm going to tighten up this side and structure this up today, and then depending on when I can get that panel, I'm for the opposite side, I may have to start going at the back of the car and strengthening up that back and doing that tail piece. Well, that's about it. I will update as I go. Thanks for the support. I appreciate everyone that subscribes and is watching and sharing. That's great. If you could continue that, that'd be great. If you hit the little bell, that gives you alerts whenever my videos come up. I'm going to try and do 2 a week, maybe 3, depending on what's going on. I do have some on that I'm putting together for this 66 Corvair that I'm restructuring the frame and subframe and putting in new floors and whatnot. Yeah, so thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy. So that didn't take long. I cut into this back rocker, and I found an interesting surprise. I've heard stories of this, but I don't think I've ever seen somebody stuffing rags and stuff with fiberglass and whatnot in an attempt to make a filler panel. This was in behind the rear of the rocker. It's rags and, I don't know, some sort of cloth and tar and crap. As you can see, I've got this all cut out. And I'm going to try and graft in that back panel. We'll see how it goes. So I'm back looking at the this rear quarter panel again. I've now cut out a bunch of the existing. Cut out the inner panel there. Hello. I'm decided that I'm going to use the black aftermarket panel, this new panel, which, in case you're wondering what it looks like this. This is the one for the other side. See, it comes all the way down and sort of sets on the rocker. So I've used that rather than mix and match the two of them, because that brown panel also had a door sill piece. So I've cut that out. Now ultimately I'm gonna splice them together and butt weld them. But right now, oh, there it goes. Right now I'm just trying to get a line on straight. And it's hard to do because there is no rocker here. And structure inside, for lack of a better term, is lacking. I also have to be, I don't have to nail them fixed right now, but I do have to be aware of my door gaps and make sure that I'm not going to get into something that I can't deal with later. If it's too tight and I weld this all in, it's going to be a nightmare. So obviously this has to get sort of set in a little bit, but I kind of can't straighten that out until I get this rocker piece in. So I fabricated, I said earlier that I fabricated a rocker. So here it is. It's got the correct profile and crown to it. I bent it over some pipe and then shaped it with the wheel, little planishing hammer. It's a little chewed up on the ends from the shrinker and stretcher, but I don't need the whole piece. Obviously I flanged the underside, as you can see. I don't need the whole piece. I need 44 inches or so of it. This thing's 4 feet long. So I'm gonna cut that down. I did a rough cut earlier on this flange here. I'm going to straighten that up at some point when it comes time to tying it into the floor. Right now I'm just looking to get some structure in place. So I'll use the outer rocker as a structure, and I might even add a pipe or something behind for now until I get that one-piece floor with the full inner rockers. I'm going to end up doing this on both sides. The reality is there isn't a lot there to work with the car. This is my layout sort of area. Some parts. There's not really a lot to work with the car for structure because the inner rockers are non-existent. There's supposed to be an inner panel that goes right here, and it's not there, obviously. So when I get the new one-piece floor, it will come with that, with these braces and the inner rocker, all as one big giant happy family. So then what I'll do is I'll have my new rocker that I fabricated will be in place of this one, and then I'll be able to tie it all together at the top. But I got to try and make this all happy somehow. Like I said, I'm going to be mindful of my door gaps the best I can right now, and my panel fit before I weld this in solid, which I'm not even close to being ready to do yet. I've got to section that all in properly so it actually fits right. And then figure out where I'm going to be on this end. And then I'll end up probably cutting along here, along this radius with the grinder, or well, with the grinder. And then I will weld that all in together. And then eventually I'm going to have to make a little piece for this here, but that shouldn't be that big of a deal. As you can see, I've cut away peekaboo in here. Getting into scary stuff here. I am going to put in wider wheel wells later, so I'm not really that worried about that. And this will probably all get trimmed away from the inside after. But I don't want to cut too much out of this because this is giving a lot of strength to this quarter panel and it's not flopping around. And then, I'll carry on and graft the same thing in here. You can see, got a little gap. I got to make a piece for that. And then it comes around and joins in at the top. I'll have to blend that all in and TIG that in. And make sure my lines are all okay. Kind of is what it is. Hey folks, it was a long day. I started off the day with a Zoom tech session with the Corvair Club. They were supposed to show up here today, but with everything going on, we elected to go with Zoom instead, and it actually worked out quite well. So we did a little tech session where I talked a bit about some welding and stuff, and it was good. And then went for a drive with the wife for lunch, and came back and hit the 55 again. So this is about what I got done for today. I got the rocker panel that I made grafted in. The door is fitting a little better. I started to graft in that brown panel that you see behind me there, the quarter panel filler piece. I still need to graft it into the aftermarket piece. That's the black piece there. I've got everything sort of lined up. The lip for the flange for the inside of the rocker, where it goes to against the inner rocker. It's sort of it all looks like it's going to be in the right spot, which is kind of a guess. I had a little sample piece of a 55 rocker, fortunately enough, in my parts pile, and only, a 6-inch piece or whatever, but it gave me the profile to work from to get that right bevel and get the right step in it and get the flange in the right spot. So I still have lots of work to do, obviously, but it's starting to come together. It's starting to look like a two-door. This isn't going to be a knock it off in a weekend job. It's just not going to be that way. I have other things I got to work on, and this one's for me. It's kind of interesting though. I've got a good idea of exactly what I want it to look like when it's done, which is neat. It kind of gives me an idea of how to proceed when I've got a clear picture in my head of how I want it to look. And it's not really like anyone else's that I've seen. There's some that are close. I'm sure there's probably the exact same car somewhere, but I've got some ideas. Should be good. I'll show you a little bit closer on what I've got going on. So there's something. My gap got a little away from me there when I was trying to make it fit the door pillar in the right spot. So I ended up with a bit larger gap down here than I would like. I can work with it. If I have to, I'll put some copper behind it so I can fill it. Not a big deal. The top's not that bad. Eventually this is all going to get cleaned right up, filed and grinded flat, and I'll be doing some metal finishing on it. I'm doing hammer and dolly work as I go. I haven't started into this section yet, but I did section it in at the bottom. There's that rocker that I made. So that's all kind of there. This panel still is a bit loose because it doesn't hold quite up against the inner rocker the way the way I would like yet, because when the inner rocker's there, I can tack them together and it will hold. But right now, I don't know if you can see that, there's, you know, a fair bit of movement to get it into the floor support that's there. I'll open the door and let you have a look. So, this is a giant hole. There's the non-existent inner rocker, and as I said, this is flanged kind of where it should be, so that way when the inner rocker's here, I'll have enough movement that it'll all fit nice, and I can weld the inner rocker to the outer rocker, no problem. Yeah, so this is that section of rocker that I was fortunate to have and work with to get the correct profile. I elected to do it in 2 pieces because I was having trouble getting the whole thing in my brake. I was playing around with the bead roller. I'm not that comfortable with the bead roller yet. I got to get a better bead roller set up. I borrowed a friend's right now, and eventually I'll get a proper bead roller and get familiar with it as I do more of this stuff. The bead roller would be the right tool for the job. You can see that nice rounded edge there. You know, I'll have to play with the fender and stuff up front. This is where I've started to graft it in back here. It's kind of just tacked in place right up to here, and I'm gonna have to cut this along here and butt weld these pieces together because I'm not doing a half lap or anything like that. I cut out all the structure that's in here. I'll be making that from the inside out. I obviously have this filler piece I'm going to have to make, and then I'm going to have to blend and cut all that into the quarter panel. Lots to go, but nothing crazy. So while I'm making a video, I thought I'd show you what I found at the back here. Obviously a lot of garbage. So I'm gonna get the pieces that go right here. I think they come up to, you know, about this area, and then I'll have to work the rest of it and pick out all this Bondo and actually get to metal. Looking at it from the inside, it's not terrible. There's a line down the end of the side of the car. You can see where that brown quarter panel piece kicks out a little bit. Like I said, once the inner rocker is there and I have something to attach it to, that'll pull that back in. I might pull it back in the meantime, just so I can have the panel nice and straight for welding when I final weld it in. Yeah, more junk. More junk, and then, yeah, this is yummy. I don't even know what to say about that. That's all obviously gonna go. The whole car is ultimately gonna come down to bare metal, and I'll be fixing all this stuff. On the passenger side, not much going on yet other than the door is hanging. That's pretty much it. I looked at some rough spots on the door. The pillar's out, as I showed in another video. But other than that, just the door is hanging. I haven't even cut out that piece yet. And then I'll have to mirror the other side. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be trying to get that panel like that. I have the other side, the lower quarter panel. But I've got to wait and see what the shipping is like for the current times. I might have to wait on that. I know they have the tail stuff in stock, and I might have to get into doing the tail end of the structure. Ultimately, I got to stiffen the car up enough and strengthen it up enough that I can lift the body off the frame and cut the floor out. We'll see how that goes. Bits and pieces at a time. I'll probably have to add a bunch of temporary structure in, because I don't want this thing folding up like a pretzel when it's lifted off the frame. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for joining me on this adventure. And it looks like, I don't know, this is part 2 of, could be 10 or 20, who knows. Might be 100. at this point, it doesn't really matter. It'll get done when it gets done. I'm just going to keep working at it. One good thing about our current situation is that I've got lots of time to work on cars. Yeah, so thank you very much. Please like, share with your friends, and subscribe. It really does mean a lot. I'm doing pretty well with subscribers for being a new channel, only out a few weeks. I want to do better. Maybe somebody else is working on junk like this, and maybe somebody else wants to see what I'm doing for influence. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's down below, and there's a bell there. And if you click the bell, that will make it so it'll notify you when I post more videos and stuff. Thank you very much, and I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope everyone is staying safe and staying healthy. Thanks for watching, and all the best.